Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Good to see you. We're just about starting. I was just saying, Emily, that kind of purpose of today is like, I'm sure, like me, I'm hearing lots of noise about how difficult it is and how tough it is. And there's not a lot of jobs out. So what can we be doing to support? So just thought it's a start of a series of conversations that I thought would be important to start having to see how we can support. And I'd love to hear your expertise because you guys are closer to the ground and may have ideas in terms of how long we think this is going to last, what we can be doing. So it's a brainstorming session. I'm not going to do a presentation. I don't have any kind of amazing solutions or ideas. This is a space where we're going to share together and hopefully come up with some stuff that we can be thinking about, yeah? So before starting, we were just doing some intros. You're next to me, so can I start off with you? Do you want to just introduce yourself, your job, kind of like what you're hearing, yeah, and what you're kind of hoping maybe to get out of this this session, a little time that we've got with each other.
Okay. Hi everybody. So my name's Anita Herbert. I'm the Impact Partnership Programme Manager. For the rest of today, I'm going to say IPP because it's easier to say, manager at the Film and TV charity. And my role is to support Black and Global Majority behind the scenes. It's a new programme which we're hoping to launch next year. We're at an exciting phase at the moment where we're bringing people together. To help shape how we spend the £1 million that we have. I'm here today really just to kind of understand how, as a collective, you can support the people out there that need the support and maybe come up with some collected ideas, etc. So really is a learning space and listening and offering that support.
And also, there are some amazing people in this room. So even just the connections, like you should be definitely talking to Michelle. I know that you know Sam, and I'm sure you should be speaking to Emily. So there are some amazing connections to be had, even if at the very least you come away with just being able to connect with some other people. That's a kind of win.
Thank you.
Cool. Michelle, do you want to intro?
Yep. Before I eat my other bit of lunch, I'm going to be eating my lunch throughout this, just letting you know. I've got meetings back to back. So I'm Michelle Matheson, and I am the Creative Diversity Partner for Commissioning and Content, which means that I oversee unscripted, and that's everything from entertainment, daytime, and factual. And it's with regards to ensuring that they're all sort of meeting the 20% with their production teams. Commission is a commissioning diverse content and it's inclusive. So that's kind of my remit. I'll pass over to Kay.
And sure, that's at the BBC. Yeah,
sorry, again, the BBC. Yeah. Badge and everything.
Hi everyone, I'm Kay Abbott, as you can probably see from my name. I work for the Film and TV charity as well. I deal with all the grants. I'm the financial wellbeing advisor, stroke specialist. I'm honoured to be here amongst you all, and I'd like to take away some insights if anyone's got them. I'm sure I've got loads I can give you due to the increase in applications that we're having that I read on a daily basis. I'll just throw you a figure out there. Last year in July, we dealt with 12 applications. This July, we dealt with 108.
Wow. Are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's for our stopgap grant, which covers the immediate need. So those people that have literally been left on a Friday without a job on a Monday. And we do loads of signposting to benefits and other organisations. We've also got a Horace Ove grant, which is an opportunity grant for the Black and Global Majority, which offers a small amount of money for those that want to take up courses or need a bit of equipment, something that's preventing them. So yeah, I've got loads of insights I can give you. And I've been at the charity 7 years, and the last 2 months of outside of COVID, which I wasn't really involved with, has been the busiest time I've seen in 7 years at the charity.
That's really interesting. And I'm really grateful to have you here, particularly with that level of insight, because you're kind of speaking to people with real serious, at that need. So, your contribution is going to be invaluable. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Sam.
So lovely to be here amongst all of you. I'm really glad to be part of this. So my name's Sam Frey, and I am the talent development lead at Triforce Creative Network. And the majority of the work I do, for me, the main focus for me is on developing talent. And what I want us to do is develop pathways that help people, particularly in these situations. So I meet lots of talent who can't find work, looking for work. Lots of them are quite senior. and they're in a position at the moment where they're wondering whether or not they should stay or go. So for me, what I want to do is I want to help them figure out how they can maybe consider portfolio careers. So when things are not moving well in this industry, as a creative industry as a whole, how can we get people doing other things? So for instance, I'm a trustee now on the board at Leeds Playhouse, because one of the things that really interests me is how can we do this cross creativity thing together? What jobs match with that can go over there, particularly because I'm based in Leeds. And I know I personally feel I've had to really fight for a career. Along the way, I feel like a lot of the times I've had to make things up or just insert myself into places in order to just basically survive for the family. And I feel like if I can help support people through that by giving them different pathways. So I'd be really interested to find out if there was any funding out there that I can help develop programs to support people. I'm more than happy to work with as many organizations, individuals to get things off the ground.
I love that. And I think that what's really interesting is that as we kind of merge, we become smaller as an industry, that thing about pathways, having a portfolio career where you can take your skills and take them in different spaces becomes really, really, really vital if you want to survive this really tough time. So thanks for that. You go. Esma, go. Yeah.
Well, hi guys. Thank you, Simone. I'm a producer, assistant producer. I was one of the sort of last year I was shortlisted as one of the breakthrough people. I didn't quite get through, but I was shortlisted, so that's good enough for me, and I'm over the moon. But I've just been really struggling finding work. It's just I haven't had work since the 7th of July, and I've been applying and I've been watching the jobs that come up on Talent Manager, and there's not many assistant producer or producer roles. And it's always the same sort of 54 people that apply to all the jobs. So you can see how many people have applied for each job. So it's the same group going around. I'm so experienced, and I'm really surprised I haven't even managed to get a filler job. I've contacted sort of talent managers like Elsa Sharp and, you know, the usual sort of crop of managers that you've built relationships with, and I still haven't had anything. And it's just, this is the summer and you're supposed to go on a summer holiday or do something. I haven't been on holiday for ages, but I'm at home wearing a hoodie. And I just find that there are some jobs that talk about, well, maybe we can talk about this regionally later, but I have found that I'm obstructed to apply for jobs because of regional things, that I can only apply for things outside of M25 or North or Bristol. And that I think impacts on the community a lot more, because we're already stuck in a London bubble. But if we can't apply for jobs outside, it's tough for us. And yeah, so I'm just having a bit of a crisis of whether I should carry on in the industry. So I've been just looking at ways of doing other things. I just was quite impressed by Sam, how she helps people work out how they can use their skills other places, and also from Kay about, I never even knew there was funding that could be helped in buying equipment and things like that.
Yeah, see, even just being here and just hearing the resources, and maybe sometimes it's just as simple as that, right? There's so many people doing so many great things. Sorry, I have a kitten and she's actually attacking my feet. So what you're going to see is, if you see me doing all these kind of things, or I'm trying to ignore her, but she's desperate for my attention, so she will irritate. But even just something as basic as that, is sharing information, can be really powerful, right? And just letting people know the resources out there can just make the difference. So these conversations are so important. Who wants to go next? Someone want to introduce themselves next? Emily, do you want to go and then pass on?
I'm happy to go next. So I'm Emily Fielden. I'm head of talent at Studio Lambert. We are lucky in that we have a few very, very big projects that have continued over the last 6 months to hire a few freelancers. But obviously, as a team, we've been absolutely inundated with people applying for work, and I'm so sorry to hear about your experience, Uzma. And I think that experience that you're describing so well is just incredibly common in the industry at the moment. I don't remember a time. I mean, Michelle and I go back in this talent management business a long time, and I certainly can't remember a time as bad as this.
Wow.
And actually, Sam, whilst it's lovely being on this call with you, my heart sinks when I hear people are going to leave the industry and do other things, because there are brilliant people in this industry. As talent managers, we value them highly. We wish there was enough work and there weren't these terrible droughts and then periods when there's more work than there are freelancers. So I'm just really excited about coming up with solutions. This is a creative industry. We're good at sharing ideas. We're grateful for you, Simone, to bring us all together so that we can come up with these ideas together. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm just here to hear what everyone has to say.
Yeah, I think that we're in the same space. I think that's really good. And I think we'll lean on you a lot in terms of kind of just, you know, what does the future look like and how long is this a change? Is this like, is it a blip? Is this what the future? But we will continue those conversations a little bit more. Sorry, is it Liz? Sorry, my eyes are so, yeah.
It's Lou. And I
It's
was
Lou,
going to
sorry,
say,
Lou.
I'd love to see the kitten at some point, but maybe we get to do that later on the call, because I'm just very intrigued about your cute kitten sitting in your feet. But hi, everyone. I'm Lou Benson. I also work at the Film and TV charity, and I'm the development director. Which means I head up fundraising, marketing, and communications. I was on a call earlier this morning. We were about to announce, off the back of what Kay mentioned, which is that we've got a huge uptick in terms of grant applications, and we don't see any sign of that abating anytime soon. We're over budget for the quarter, and we're anticipating being over budget for the rest of the year. We also did a survey in May, a sort of snapshot financial resilience survey, which uncovered worryingly high levels of people in the industry not paying into pensions, having very little in savings, you know, all that stuff, which shows that it's not just an issue for now, but like, you know, they've got sort of, you know, the issues which are, you know, kind of ongoing and could sort of make things worse for them. So we're about to announce, I think the press release is going tomorrow just for Edinburgh, that the charity has drawn down an additional $500,000 from its reserves in order to service the grants need of the industry, because we do think that there'll be many more people needing grants. And we're also doing a big fundraising drive to try to encourage corporates to donate to that appeal as well. But I'm on the call because, like others have said, I'm really keen to hear about creative solutions. I spend a lot of time talking to businesses. I had a really good call this morning, and actually BBC Public Service Broadcasting are already donating in addition to their annual donation to us for this fund. But so many corporates I speak to, a bit like you, Emily, sort of say, you know, what can we do? We know that there's a crisis out there. You know, what can we do as businesses? And beyond us giving that sort of initial piece of financial support, which is so important for people's mental health, it's so important for people kind of just to buy them a bit of time so that they can then, as Kay said, navigate towards benefits and all that good stuff. I'm really interested in the sort of the medium term and the longer term sort of responses to this situation. And having been at the charity for just over 2 years, I've really experienced or seen the kind of roller coaster, because this time last year we were worried about everyone in the production boom having too much work and not enough time, you know. And if this is the new normal, then and I really do get the impression from corporates that they understand this, that if this is the new normal, they have to do more to support freelancers, because it's just not a viable career for people. I don't know if that's what you're hearing. You feel as well, Emily, but I'm really hearing, well, a very positive kind of intent from the employers, that they recognize this, but they do slightly beyond giving people money, and not everyone has the money to give at the moment because there is a production slowdown. What are the other things that they can do to try and smooth people's experiences and, you know, keep them in the industry?
I think for me, firstly, and Emily, I'm going to ask this to you, is it like everyone's kind of acknowledging this? We've never seen anything like this. We've been around for a long time. We've never seen it. How long do we think that this is going to last? What's the kind of noise from the other side, from broadcasters, from the kind of productions happening? How long do we think this is last? Is this the new norm? Do we need to kind of brace ourselves for a kind of slight change in terms of how we do things. What's your thoughts, kind of sitting in the space you are? And Michelle, similar to you as well, because you work quite close with talent and production, both sides. So I'd be intrigued to hear you guys' thoughts.
I mean, really, we need to ask the broadcasters what they think, because we are just beholden on what they, you know, when they're commissioning again. I mean, we've heard that Channel 4 have had a freeze on commissions for a while. I feel personally, from Studio Lambert's perspective, we think things will pick up towards the end of the year, and next year we are hopeful, but there's still a lot of uncertainty. So it's really hard to give a clear answer.
I get that. Yeah. Michelle, I mean, sorry to put you on the spot.
I mean, I agree with Emily, and I think even the broadcasters don't really know. I think it's that quite a few programs have been decommissioned. Quite a few of the expensive programs. I mean, you know, the broadcasters' budgets have been slashed. The BBC's in particular, not saying slash, but we have to make it work with the license fee. We have to make it work with the money that we get. And but I was just trying to think of something more sort of proactive, solution based. One of the things that I think, when we've had a freelance community, you know, I started in this industry when there wasn't a freelance community, not such, a few independent people, but that was it. You worked for an organization and you were staff. And when things weren't, you know, when things were light, you just floated around the office. And when things were really busy, you tore your hair out. It was that sort of thing. So that sort of feast famine has always been there. It's just the extremeness of it now. I think when I was paid as a full-time person, you know, pension, all these sorts of things, life was kind of sweet, because when things weren't busy, you got involved in other projects. I think now with a freelance community, we might have to think about, you know, maybe 6 months is the shortest contract you should have for somebody. And I say this because this isn't something that, but I just feel 12-week contracts and then not eating for another 4 months is just ridiculous. It's really, really tough. I wouldn't encourage any of my children to go into this business now, and none of them have, by the way, and I've not said a word. They've just watched. They're not in this industry because they just feel that it fluctuates too much for them in order to have a living. I've seen people, even when things were great, leaving the industry because when you're a woman and having children, it was really difficult to come back to your job in the state where you were. It was really difficult to progress. So there've always been issues around employment within the industry. Those who sail through it are those who are supported well and don't have to worry about money. Those are the ones who really do well. So it probably does come down to money, because if you think about it, if we put money into a fund like the Film and Television Charity, if we supported it more, the broadcasters, in those sorts of very difficult times, maybe, you know, 6 months contracts. If you're on a 6-month contract, you could potentially do 2 programs. If you're on a 6-month contract, you'll probably be able to save enough money that during that 6 months to hold it until you find the next job. I don't know, but I feel like the nature of the beast, and it's really difficult because I've been in an indie and I totally understand the indie model as well. It's just, I just don't think this is sustainable enough for the industry. And what's going to happen is we lose those people we've been desperately trying to attract to the industry, stay in the industry. They leave, and your Jemimas and your Tarquins who can be in this industry forever and ever stay. And we've seen it. We've all been around. Well, some of you are really young, but we've all been around it a long time to kind of know the challenges. We've all been challenged. I've been challenged. There was a time when I thought, I can't go back into this industry. I can't work like this. I'll go and teach. And I'm lucky because I'm a qualified teacher, so I can go off and teach when I feel like I need to go and do something else.
But is that what we should be doing? Like, to Sam's point, I mean, like, definitely from a business point of view, we kind of hear that, but really in terms of supporting talent, and it's not that something we want to encourage, but is it looking at how the industry, the kind of creative, where the intersections are, and kind of supporting people so that they can kind of work in different parts, or bring the creative industry? It's about, like you said, just being resourceful I remember in the times when I was down and there was always work, I used to log. So if I wasn't producing, I'd put myself out as a logger, or I'd always find different ways, try to be resourceful in the space.
And you
Is
were
there
very
ways that we can
resourceful, Miss Pennant.
as you know me, madam. Is there ways that we can be encouraging or finding ways that we can support people to be a little bit more resourceful? And for me, the thing that's come up is that financial education, because you was talking just the idea of just not even thinking about your pension, because it's so hand to mouth. You're so worried about whether you're not going to work for a couple of months that your pension feels so long away, so you don't consider it until you turn up and you're like, friggin' hell, I haven't got a pension, right? So even in terms of giving some financial, I don't know, like a toolkit in terms of, you know, thinking about how your finances, stuff like that, whether things like that could be really proactive and helpful.
I think
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I think with, sorry to hog, but I think with pensions, it's great. Yes, everyone should have a pension because you're going to need it. When you get to the age I'm at, I'm like, damn, why didn't I keep my pension X and Y? But you do need a pension, but that's not going to help you in your day-to-day going down to Sainsbury's and doing your shopping. It's just, you know, and there was a period of time when I was working at the BBC where I didn't take the pension because the pension was a massive chunk of money. And I thought, oh, do you know what?
Yeah.
I'd rather be feeding my children than taking that pension. So I think it's you're right though, Simone. I think there is something about financial planning that we don't necessarily have a lot of information on. But I'm just thinking the industry as a whole have to, you know, some of the indies really earn a lot of money from broadcasters. You know, some of the indies get a lot of money, you know, and are working really hard. But maybe bigger indies earning a certain amount, 6-month contract should be the minimum. I don't know. It's just really difficult one because it's easy for me to sit here and say all these things, and the reality is that an indie will turn around and go, why should I? You know, this is my profit. This is profit that my company are making. Why should I be propping up the industry? I've got people working for me. I'm not doing anyone a disservice. It's not that, is it? It's as I think Emily said, it's the broadcasters. The broadcasters are not commissioning enough. I think the BBC, when I look at the commissioning slates, they all look pretty full to me. But what does that mean?
What's happening?
I think it would be really beneficial if all the broadcasters could be more collaborative and not have these big shows scheduled at the same time that soak up all the talent and then release them all at the same time so everyone's looking for work. If there could be a sort of agreement on when lots and lots of people are needed to be recruited at the same time, so that we can ensure that there's more consistencies, that there aren't these big droughts, and then everyone's looking for people at the same time. That seems really unhelpful. Whether there is a practical way of getting those people around the table, I don't know, but that does seem like the obvious way to go with this issue that we're facing.
Sam, go on. Sorry, Sam.
That's a great idea. And as somebody who back in my ITV days used to work across like the broadcast side of things, I feel like when I was doing scheduling and everything, everybody used to talk about the competition between channels and, you know, them putting out like the false timetable thing. And I think it's that whole competition element and the fact that it's all about advertising and how things slot in. They're not thinking of the bigger picture. So you're right. If they did think about it when they were forecasting like 18 months in advance about what was going to go in, thinking about the fact that the industry is in the mess it's in now, how can we help people? Which I think some of the times broadcasters forget that all of these freelancers are actually people. They're not just names that, you know, like are on a sheet that need to be employed. And I think that's where that issues come in, is that as an industry, we don't look after the very people that make it happen. And
is there something
the people that we rely on ultimately.
Yeah, but I would just say there's something really practical in what's just been suggested. We've got autumn coming up, haven't we? We've got the September autumn coming up. Is there something, and I don't know the realities of where there is a conversation or something in terms of the scheduling or looking, the broadcasters or people looking collectively at the kind of 12 months ahead or 6 months ahead and what that looks like, and like you were saying, thinking about how we can schedule. Is that a real practical suggestion in terms of getting maybe 3 or 4 of the broadcasters together and thinking about how this, I don't know, Shell,
You know what might be good?
Yeah,
It's a really good point, Sam, is bringing the schedulers, because
Yeah.
it's the schedulers
Yeah.
who spend time working out what the competition are doing. And maybe if the schedulers from the broadcasters came along to a meeting, they might
Absolutely.
understand about those big shows that are put up against each other. I mean, that is one way of looking at it. I think that this requires lots and lots of different prongs.
But it's like
a rake, really.
With something, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's starting with something where
But
you,
I think,
like even just saying that spreading out the talent throughout the year is there, or even just having that conversation or making people aware that that's impactful. That's not something that costs money, particularly. Maybe, you know, I don't know in terms of your profit, but it doesn't really impact. Nobody's asking you to put your hand in your pocket. Just saying to have a conversation to see how you can more generously spread out the programs throughout the year, because that would help. And even just having that start of a conversation, that could be quite powerful. It just asking schedulers to come together.
I think having the schedulers together and having that conversation would be great. I do think though you'll get a lot of resistance because you know there is still this thing about, you know, those live or as live programs, those ones that encourage people to phone in, you know, those sorts of programs are scheduled at a certain time on purpose, that, you know, they're there to get the best out of that audience that are watching. But
given the fact that we're so much reliant on streamers, and that kind of appointment by TV is becoming less, it's, you know, like I hear you like calling programs, and there'll be certain big programs that will be difficult, but I do think it's a start of a conversation, and it may not be a kind of immediate solution, but I do think moving forward, Emily, I think you make a really important point. You know, that in the future, you know, in the next 18 months, if there was a little bit more of a spreading of the programs and what needs to happen when, it would just make the job of getting talent and spreading talent out, and make sure that it just feels like an abundance of work that happens at this time rather than spreading out throughout the year. Could be something easily solved that they just haven't thought about. And I think it's well worth bringing to your attention. I think it's a really practical and really, you know, something that can be done, a suggestion in terms of schedules just to come together. And for talent, you know, as you guys are talent, to say that this is the impact it has when you guys schedule everything in this kind of way. Maybe something that we haven't heard before considered in that way. So that could be quite powerful. And so that could really
the other potential solution that I've been thinking about as well is seeing that some freelancers themselves have had an idea to create, for instance, a casting collective. So they provide indies with a casting team, and they have a lot of teams that they support themselves. So these people that would work for this casting company presumably would have a contract guaranteed for a period of time, and then those they then provide indie with a team, and assuming they have really good people on their teams, the indie will be happy to accept them. But what it just enables is a small sort of organization develops where the freelancers can have a little bit of security, so that there is a dry patch and a shortage of work, the organization as a collective can ride through it.
Well, that's a really good thought, and particularly for both me and Sam, with the kind of organizations that we're doing. Is there anything that us as organizations, given that thought and taking that we could be doing more to support or drive? What is it that we can be doing? Is there things like you suggested, bringing talents? I know that in one of our leaders' WhatsApp groups, there was conversations about bringing people together to farm out for producing work, and just thinking about how they can work far more closely and collectively. Is there anything that you guys see that we could be doing a little bit more, supporting you guys a little bit more? For most of you, I don't know that you know that we've just launched an online platform, and Emily, yay, is one of our first corporate allies. Yeah, and we're hoping that she'll be bringing in many more. But with those kind of people bringing us there, what else can we be doing? Because we have access to talent, we understand the frustrations with supporting talent in a real proactive ways. How do we match or work closer with you guys? And I think that that would be helpful for Sam as well. I would assume kind of quite similar in terms of what we do.
Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many answers to that. I think that just doing something like this is so good, isn't it? Bringing people together and coming up with solutions. Do more of that, and yeah, I mean, anything that helps, anything that gives the freelancers as a group a voice, because they need to be heard and they need to be understood as an important part of our industry. If we don't have a vibrant freelance industry, we don't have a TV industry. It's a kind of symbiosis that needs to thrive going forward. So anything that you as a collective can do to give that community a voice. I mean, Adil has done really well in bringing out that voice, and I'm sure he will continue as well.
Yeah, but it's just, I suppose it's, for me, it's kind of pooling those collective resources. I always get a sense that there's a lot of amazing work going around in little pockets, but people don't necessarily know, like the fact that there's 2 people on here talking about grants and support that they offer, and as much as I kind of know it, I don't kind of know it, and just making sure, and Elizabeth said she didn't know it, so how do we make sure that those resources and people know about what's out there and what's around for them is important? Yes, please, Lou.
Hi. One thing I wondered about, and I just don't know whether it's viable, so I'd love to hear from Emily and Michelle in particular about this, but sometimes, often I go into businesses, and I was at Warner's the other day, and they've just got empty floors of just desks and coffee machines and all that, and Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. You go to indies, and I went to an indie in Leeds, and again, if they're not in production, they've got so much lovely space. And I know it's not the same as giving people money when they desperately need money, but we do know that the kind of the mental strain and the loneliness that you can feel either when you're in very intensive production periods or when you're not working is a significant factor for people's overall well-being. And I just wondered whether there's more that corporates can do to kind of get their arms around freelancers, whether or not they're actually in work. I don't know if that's viable, but you just see these lovely offices and they could be full of people, you know, getting to know one another or just getting on with their work. But I do know that there are obviously kind of buildings, insurance issues and all those sorts of things to consider, but I wondered if that's ever a possibility or something that other people have seen examples of.
It really is, isn't it? And it's a nice idea for maybe talent teams to also meet talent that they haven't. And so if there was a space or time in the day where you can invite freelancers to come in and work, and, you know, like hot desk,
that kind of co-working space.
Yeah, co-working space is really exciting.
I was thinking that actually, because I've just been made chair of the Albany in Deptford, and I'll be talking to you, Sam. And one of the things that I was thinking about with some of their spaces, you know, to use for the community to come in and use up their work sort of spaces, but there must be a vibrant TV community in that area too, Deptford, Lewisham, who might, like you said, maybe corporates could do a sort of having a development sessions and call it that, so that you might come up with a fabulous idea, but you've got somewhere where you're in, maybe they put on lunch or snacks or something, so it feels like you're not, you know, Billy No Mates. You don't want to walk into an organization and of course they're working on a production and you're next to them and you're not working on that production, you're not being paid for that production, so there'll be that, but you're in that environment where people see you every day. And it is an ask for the indie, and remember, indies are squished as well when it comes to this. They haven't got an income when they haven't got programs that they're working on and being made. So it might be something that could be potentially subsidized by some charities or or do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to
Or
think.
even
Yeah,
even if it's a
definitely.
half day, even if it's not constant every day, or the thing could be a half day a month or a day a month where freelancers can come and co-work in a space, and there may be a theme. Because I think for me, or from like, we're definitely trying to create community, and our messaging is at the moment that there's so much you can do as a freelance, upskill, get to know people. It's the opportunity where you can go and meet people because people haven't got a lot of work in. So really finding ways that we can keep our community proactive. So like you said, it feels really lonely. But I think, Lee, that's a lovely idea, just having a space where people can come together.
I mean, I don't,
Powerful.
sorry.
I was just going to say really quickly, that's really hit my sweet spot there. I'm in Leeds, and I know that Leeds has a lot of work to do.
I was in Leeds, Sam. I was in Leeds when I saw that. I went, this indie, and I was like, oh my God. It was in this whole beautiful media park. And I was like, this is empty. This space is empty. And it was absolutely gorgeous.
If I went into the ITV building today as well, you'd see it's dead in there too. And like, I met Michelle from my ITV days. And like, these are things that we fought hard for as part of our network, is to bring people together. And the idea that I always said that ITV in Yorkshire felt like a closed door environment. Like nobody knew what went inside there. Like it might have Emmerdale on the side and you might know calendars in there, but they could open spaces not just to freelancers but to community.
Open days. Yeah.
Pipelines, right? We really need to make sure that people know what's available. Like there's jobs in broadcasts that aren't freelance that we can tell people about, rights people and so on. You know, there's what's going on. How can we help fill other jobs and encourage maybe freelancers as well to think about how they can work
in different spaces? But I think even just opening up your door though, and just making it feel like a welcome space is so powerful, isn't it? So you just feel, and like even if you just go and have coffee, you just feel like when things are picking up, this is be a company I want to work in. It's good.
And
vibes,
also
good
sharing
energy,
skills,
well.
sharing skills. So when I was at ITV, one of the things we were doing was come dine with me. And when there was downtime, which wasn't often, but when there was downtime, one of the producers would do training, camera training with the researchers and runners. Now, I'm not saying that you can do, but you could even offer that as a skill. I can come in and train your on this camera or that camera, and it just might be a day's pay, but that day's pay might keep the wolf from the door. So I think there are lots of different things we could potentially think about, but these are all brilliant ideas.
Michelle, to your point,
sorry, Luke. No, you've been trying to jump in.
No, just a follow up, because you mentioned about indies feeling the pinch, and you're right, and I understand that. We've got Marcus Ryder coming in, and he's our new CEO, so I don't want to have an idea out of turn before he starts. But I can see a world, because we've got our own premises in London. It's lovely, and we want people to come in and use it. But I can see a really good argument for the film and TV charity to subsidise this if we could get a kind of scale thing across the UK, because as much as it's lovely coming into our offices, it's more valuable, I think, to go into an independent production company's offices, you know, and if we could, you know, if there was a situation where we needed to put a bit of money into supporting indies to host people for a couple of days or whatever else, I don't see that as an impossibility for the charity to get behind. I'll have to pitch it to our new boss when he starts, but you know, that could be something, because we really want to foster that sense of community, but we can't be everywhere all at once, and it is better if we can support the industry to do it for itself, if you know what I mean.
And just to let everybody know that it's oh, sorry, Anita.
Sorry. No, go on.
Sorry,
Michelle,
I was just going to say that
I want to fit here as a freelancer. How does that feel to you hearing that? Is that helpful? So let's do that. Michelle, Anita, then sorry, then Anita. Sorry.
No, losing my train of thought. Oh,
yeah, sorry, Michelle.
That's all right. I think we have to know, the industry has to know that this is normal, right? Because what you don't want is to have people coming in and filling up their Billy No mates when they walk into a place. This is the norm. So the more we understand, look, this industry is this, we are going to find that you might be out of work for a period of time. It's normal. It's no reflection on you. Kind of that comms piece around it has to be quite strong, because otherwise people won't feel that they can, because they'll feel like, you know, I don't know. I'm just I'm listening pros and cons at the same time, so excuse me. Sorry,
no, but I think that it's a really valid point, because the reality is that people of colour in these moments are the first out the door, or it's a sense that those are the first out the door, that they feel the brunt first. So it's important that you are creating a space that doesn't feel like, and particularly being in this diversity space, what you don't want it to feel like it's an alternative for jobs, right? So rather than give us bloody jobs, they're doing another thing to kind of pacify. So you do want to make sure that the comms around it is really important, but also there's a reality with all freelancers. I freelance and I haven't had work for a long time. And I've been sat in my house on my own, wondering why the phone is not ringing just for me. The whole world is working, but it's just me, and it's me, and I'm bad, and I'm an awful person. I've done something wrong. So to be able to bring people together in a space where they can share and they can bounce and they can share resources and information and connect is really powerful. And if a few production companies were willing to host people once a month where you could drop in and just be around freelancers going through, I think that that would really help with morale. I love that idea. I think it would really help with morale. And also, like, we've come up with 2 really proactive things rather than just kind of having a bitch and a moan. We've come out with 3 real like schedules, get schedules in a room and get them to think about how they're scheduling programs moving on. That's a little bit of a more midterm solution. But in a kind of shorter term, can we use those workspaces to kind of really kind of engage and hold our arms around freelancers and help them feel supported in this moment? I think that's really powerful. Anita, you were going to say something.
Yeah, very similar to what you guys have said. I've kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, sorry. But I think there's spaces when having conversations with people, the spaces are something that people don't have and that people really want to have. Spaces where you can come together. There's no one space where everyone can find information. And again, when you're speaking to people, like, where do we all go to find jobs? Lots of different people are doing lots of great things independently, but there's no one space. And actually speaking to people about what they need for them would be a space where we can come together, like you said, share best practice. We do it quite well. We often invite people into the film and TV charity, don't we? Because we've got lovely spaces here. And I agree with Lou to have those spaces around the country. And that's something that we're hoping that IPP programme can do as well. It's not just here in London, but actually there's spaces around the country where people come together, share best knowledge, share best practice, tell people, this is something I've learned, and help someone else and that sort of thing, share skills and all sorts of things. It's almost like peer-to-peer. And as a Black person, sometimes you walk into a space and it feels lonely because you might be the only Black person in that space as well. So to have a space where you can get, let's say, Black and Global majority, where you can have, like-minded people with the same ambition, same kind of objectives, is really important as well, I think. So kind of just repeating what you said.
Yeah, but I think
what you said, I think it's so important. People just want spaces where they can go and feel that actually they're part of a collective and feel valued in that space. So I think authenticity is really key as well. Yeah.
But for me, I suppose, like, my team, we all work remotely, and I absolutely love it because I'm not so good with the office chit chat and stuff like that. I'm not so friendly. But actually, my team really hate it. Yeah, and they actually, shut up, Michelle. They actually thrive and really want to be in spaces where there are people, even if they're just working, so they can bounce. So what I'm loving is what you're suggesting is just not even necessary. Yeah, there could be some masterclasses, but actually it's not that. It's the space. It's the space that when you freelance and you haven't had some work for a couple of days, you can get up in the morning and know, because people like structure, like get up in the morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to go and sit down somewhere for a couple of hours with some more creative people, and I'm going to get my CV on. So where I couldn't get my CV because I couldn't be asked and I felt so shit, I can be in this space and all of a sudden I want to do my CV because Sam's there as well. She's doing her CV. And I can say to Sam, have you heard? That is really powerful. Do you know what I mean? And then you add the additional about works, classes and supporting people, but just having a space where people, when you're feeling like and like being able to go down to Studio Lambert and maybe see Emily walk past us, Emily's there, anything, just feeling like you're part of something, that you belong. That's the thing I think is really powerful, that you're part of, and that, when something comes up, they'll think of me because I'm in this space. That's the bit for me that I love, because I think.
Well, maybe Simone, you and Sam, because you run part of 2 organisations. When we did the COVID talks, do you remember when it was COVID? Simone devised the COVID talk, and I produced majority of them for her, and starred in it, by the way. But get in there. You can look it up, it's on YouTube. Anyway, but when we did the COVID talks, we had a lot of people coming in for those, and it's like there's a combination of online stuff where you're seen, because the big thing when used to do this COVID talks. Simone would start at the beginning and go, "Hi so and so, hi so and so, how you doing? You good? Blah 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 blah," and everyone felt included. So the audience came to you on screen. And I think if you can replicate, do a bit of that sort of, you know, I want to be at home remotely, and do a bit of, if each indie did a masterclass or something that encouraged indies talent to come in. It could be, I don't know, Wall to Wall does something, Ricochet does something, RDF does something, you know, and you had that always a constant there as a masterclass going. So there's always somewhere for talent to go to. I think like keeps it in.
That's my ambition. So as I say, and we'll share information, and Emily being one of our first members that we're able to do stuff. It is our ambition to do those monthly masterclasses, because I remember how powerful they were, and to bringing people together, even just the fact people weren't working, just being able to be in a space and have some creative conversations was really powerful. So that's the plan, also to ensure that talent managers are being connected with talent. We've got a really strong, really amazing talent pool of not only leaders, but some people who didn't make leaders, just amazing people. So we're definitely looking at how we can utilize that and utilize that online. But for me, the extension for this is to be able to say to Emily, you know, you're one of our champions. Is there a day or a half day a month that we could organize a space like a 2 hours or 3 hour block where people could just come in and just bring in their laptops and just use, you know, is there a space, a creative hub? You know, like you get those buildings and they've got that kind of free creative space where you can just hang out. I think it's just as simple as that. And I can remember being freelance. Like I said, I quite like my own company, but I know my team would love to be in a space where they could just be around others and just work. Chelsea, she's one of the team hiding in the corner. Chelsea, you're going to come on camera quickly? Oh, she's gone to get a cup of tea. Oh, she might have gone to get a cup of tea, but just finding, but I think that's really
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Do you find that sometimes you'd really value that it can be quite lonely working on your own, and would really appreciate a space where you could kind of come together? And Yusma, you'd be a good, obviously you're an AP, so that would be a good question for you, but do you think that would be really helpful? Or you'd appreciate having other people to bounce with, particularly when things are quiet?
Oh, yes, 100%.
And Uzma, for you, I mean, you're the freelancer, you're the expert. What does that, some of the suggestions sound like for you in terms of how could they be supportive?
Yeah, I know a lot of companies like Arrow, they do Zoom meetings. When I was working for Arrow, they would have training. So I was just wondering if they could just contact some of their freelance base and ask them if they wanted to join, because the staff are already doing a course. Because when I was leaving on the 7th, I could see it in advance. There was a various bunch of courses like trauma training. There was another course about how to approach sensitive subjects. So, you know, it would have been nice to have just dipped in and not just been a staff, because I feel I'm still part of the family, even though I'm not working for them. So I should still be invited to the odd Zoom training, because everybody else was going to be on Zoom anyway. In terms of spaces being open, I think that's a good idea, because they've got so much empty space. But it's that it has the wording and the comms around it has to be right, because you don't want to be like, hello, you don't want to expose yourself because you think you haven't got a job because you're not good enough, and you haven't been picked, so you don't want to expose yourself to a point.
But you do. I think that what's quite nice about that is if it was any other day, but we're in a time where it's tough for everybody.
That's why the COVID talk thing really works, because we all know there's a downturn, and I'm just not sure why. Is it everybody cutting budgets? But the other thing I thought is just that whole regional thing for sort of Black and Asian people, that regional thing needs to go. That it's only for Bristol people, only outside M25, because that impacts people in London a lot, because the majority of Black and Asian people live in London. That's it.
I just said
controversial.
That's such an interesting perspective to. That's really valid, because
Sam, I can see you want to jump in as well, and you're regional as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I know Birmingham has got a lot of sort of Black and Asian people, but the thing is, in Bristol, there's not many Black and Asian. I know the Falls area, it's all that, it's quite mixed, but the majority of our communities live in big cities, you know, and then cutting us off, London. So we're a minority in London anyway, and then you're cutting it off regionally. Also, I find the whole thing about transferable skills. why can't I, as somebody who's worked on true crime, sensitive subjects, hospital, all these things, why can't I work on natural history? What is this about this specialist skill in natural history that everybody talks about? The whole point of research is I research and I become an expert within 2 or 3 months. It's like, oh, you have to have natural history, but you know, Black and Asian people don't go into natural history that easily because there's a block, because natural history is about animals and technical stuff. But
but I hear the point. I mean, we won't do, because like my son wants to be a natural history thing, so that block isn't for him. No, but the point I was going to make is let's not make judgments in terms of why people don't go into those spaces, but there's a reality that people are not in those spaces as much as they are, and that the thing about
because they don't have access to I'm not sure what it is, but we don't have access to the natural world. We're just stuck in the concrete jungle.
That's what I said. I don't want to make kind of judgments, because that's not necessarily true
across
the board, but the point being is that we're not in those spaces.
And the point being as well is that for a lot of Black and Asian people who are making television programs, their CVs are sometimes very eclectic because you go where the work is, right? So if I were to look at my CV, my production CV, I have gone every single genre, and it's because that's what the opportunity presented itself at the time. I wasn't able to stay in drama, which is where I love to be. I had to move into wherever there was work because I had babies to feed. And I think that that's the reality. So sometimes if you haven't got a track record in a specialist factual area, then it's very difficult for them to take you seriously. However, it's persistence. If that's what you wanted to do or want to do, then there are ways of us facilitating those conversations with the people who make it to get you onto those things. And there's money, especially at the BBC, to enable people to switch from one subgenre to another and get additional training. So there is that there. So,
and I'd just like to throw in, not that it's a plug, but that's what we do with Breakthrough Leaders. It's about you taking control of your career and deciding what you want to do with the career, rather than the industry kind of pushing and putting you, so that you can be far more proactive in terms of how you create your career, the career that you want. But I do think that those are some kind of valid points. We've got 5 minutes.
And I say one thing really?
Yes, please, Sam, please do.
So Uzma, in terms of like, I'm based in Leeds, so I understand what you're saying, that when companies ask for regional things, but a lot of the times it's because they can't afford to accommodate people in their budget to move them over to where it is. So it's not necessarily that they wouldn't consider somebody from London. If you said, I'm from London and I have a base in Bristol, I've got places I can stay throughout the whole shoot, and I'm experienced, I don't see a company not taking you. What they're worried about is that you're going to come from London and they're going to have to pay for you to stay in their budget. So it's not
that's important
that they want to exclude you. It is literally because of production budgets. That's it. So
and I've known people who've done that, who've gone, oh yeah, I've got production base in Birmingham. Yep. And they go, okay, and they go up and then they put something on a WhatsApp group and say, has anyone got a floor I can sleep on for 6 weeks? And people go, yeah, of course you can. So it's all doable. It is hard, but you know, that is the reason.
Okay, sorry, you want to say something?
Can I just say, off of the back of that, if you get awarded an opportunity like that and you need money to be able to travel or be able to stay there, the Horace Ove grant would cover some of that. So it would make a contribution towards that. So yeah, it's have a look at our website as well, because I'm sure there's probably some help there that we could offer.
So what I'm going to do, we've got 3 minutes left, and I'm going to kind of round up. I'm quite conscious about us kind of completing on time. I think that, I'd love to hold, I'm going to throw an invitation again next month to have a similar meeting, because such great stuff come out. But for me, there's kind of 3 key points that have come out. The kind of meeting with schedulers, and I really want to see if we can kind of, just progress in that, see what that would look like. And I'll speak to some people and see but that's one thing that I think we should definitely look at.
TV festivals coming up, obviously. If anyone's going there, maybe would they need to have an event, like a chat like this?
Maybe even that and we've got an event. We have an event coming up at the Guildhall in December, so some of these things might even fit into that. It's going to be quite a big one. I also like the space. The space is one for me, I think it's just so powerful, that sense of belonging. I think that when you can feel so lonely and so isolated when you're not, when you're working, but even when you're not working, you can feel even more isolated. And just being able to go to a space and feel like you're still part of a creative community that are doing stuff, even if you're not doing anything, but the fact that you've turned up and you're having those conversations can be really powerful and keep your mind going. So I love the kind of space, and I love to kind of think about that. And I'd love to throw that to Emily maybe as a first conversation. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's something we could explore doing. How would we create that and how we can make that happen? Would be wonderful.
I mean, we
And
don't
obviously-
have a huge amount of space. That's the only physical space.
But we can think of something, we can brainstorm what that might look like, and if there's
Even
a partner.
training.
Totally.
I'm in on that conversation as well.
Yes,
I
please.
think we could definitely be involved.
Think of something. I'd love to look at how we could do that. And then lastly, I mean, as always, we always do masterclasses and stuff monthly. And coming from this, out of this meeting, definitely for me, it's about how do we do that and can make sure that we're consistent and regular with that. We did an event about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were surprised how I was telling the team, oh my God, no one's going to turn up, and we were actually sold out. And a lot of that was just that being in the space and having conversations and just kind of networking. So definitely looking at doing online sessions. I think we've got something on the 28th of September, but we will kind of, I think that COVID talks reminded me of that, Michelle, and what we kind of created in that space. Looking at how we can do stuff like that monthly again would be really important. So those are the things that are going to do. Did we just lose somebody? No, we didn't.
It just a real quickie for me, just to say I'm hosting a session in Edinburgh next week on this subject with it's a TV for, so I'm going to sort of repeat back some of the stuff that we talked today.
Please
and
do.
Obviously
there.
I'll mention that we discussed it in this forum, but I'd love to feed back to you how this conversation develops off the
Definitely.
back of that. So I don't know if this group will get back together again, or if not, Simone,
I
if you're
would
there,
definitely
we can have a
will,
chat
and we'll-
about it. But
I'll make
yeah,
sure
I
there's
think this is
notice.
it's such an important subject that I'd love to continue the conversation. with
Sorry,
you.
guys, I'm going to have to go, but thanks.
Lovely to see you,
Thank you,
Michelle.
thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely to see
Love to
everybody.
see you.
I will definitely distribute kind of what we've spoken in the video.
Please.
I'm in Edinburgh next week as well, so I'd love to kind of link up. I'm
So
around next week in
maybe you can
Edinburgh.
get me that bit of cake, Simone, after all then. Maybe we can have
Yeah.
that cake. I'm there too.
Oh, we can have that cake in Edinburgh, and we can continue some of these conversations. Thank you so much,
Definitely.
guys.
Good
and
luck,
I will follow up.
Usma. Good luck, Usma.
Can I ask a
Emily.
quick question before we go? Are you going to connect us all? I mean, how are we going to...
Yeah, I will do that. I will bring you all together and
email or
connect and
something?
send off how you guys can keep in connection. Definitely,
Brilliant.
I will do that. Look for an email.
Thanks
from
very
me.
much, Simone.
Thank you so
Bye,
much. It's been
Simone.
fantastic.
Take
Thanks so much.
care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Kay.
Bye-bye.
Sam.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.